I'm Yuri.
I'm Jakub.
We're going for a drive. Daily driving a 2019 Genesis G70 2-liter turbo and 3.3-liter twin turbo.
All-wheel drive automatic versus rear-wheel drive manual.
The Genesis PR rep said we could celebrate 400,000 subscribers with a little bit of Genesis burnout. This one's all-wheel drive, but he said launch control might work.
I can't let Yuri have all the fun. You can't do gas and brake at the same time.
Does it cut power in the rear-wheel drive?
Yeah, that sucks. Currently we are in the 3.3-liter twin turbo automatic.
And you can't get the 3.3-liter twin turbo in manual.
No, you can't.
And you can't get the 3.3-liter twin turbo in rear-wheel drive.
No, you can't.
Horsepower and torque.
365 horsepower and 376 pound-feet of torque for the 3.3-liter twin turbo V6.
And how about that 2-liter turbo rear-wheel drive manual?
252 horsepower and 260 pound-feet of torque.
So the speed difference is very noticeable.
Yes, it is.
But then there's the fun difference. Rear-wheel drive and shifting your own gears.
Exactly. We're mostly going to start talking about the all-wheel drive twin turbo V6 because we're currently in that, but we will go very much in depth in the manual because we haven't done that yet because we've already reviewed this car once.
On the track.
Exactly.
So we're going to be talking a lot about daily driving stuff. Things you got to get used to when you drive it every day, which car is better for which situation, which car is better for what kind of person, and we're going to do a lot of comparisons at the end.
Yeah, because we've actually driven a lot of its competitors now, and some of its competitors have come out with newer versions. And I'm going to start this off with a big send into Cliche Corner because we haven't actually done that here yet.
Oh yeah, we did it on the racetrack only.
Honestly, this thing handles really, really well, and we are on winter tires, so not the best handling performance, but overall, I really like how this car handles.
Well, when it was on the track in Tremblant, like, this thing had so much grip.
Yeah, it did.
Here's a couple clips from that. It was a lot of fun on the track. We only drove the 3.3-liter twin turbo, though. We did not drive the manual one on the track. We just did that in autocross.
But back to Cliche Corner, I want to show you something.
Oh, you got the Cliche Corner
Cliche
shirt?
Corner, yeah, look at that.
That looks good.
I'm gonna take off my sweater now.
All right.
Cliche Corner, check out our merch store.
That shirt is actually pretty cool.
It is now my favorite shirt ever.
I designed that. I used to be a failed graphic designer.
Yes. Also, shout out to my wife who surprised me with my own shirt.
Yeah. We don't carry these shirts in stock.
No, we don't. It's a drop shipping company. Anyways, check it out. We got a lot of new designs.
Okay, so let's talk about the driving. This is a daily driving thing. Where do people drive daily? To work.
That's why we're in the automatic with lane keep assist and adaptive cruise control, and it is a dream to drive in traffic.
So we went to the Toronto Auto Show this weekend, and there was so much traffic because there was a storm. It was pretty much a nightmare. How did you feel driving there in the manual transmission one?
Brutal. However, the clutch is really light, so that kind of redeemed itself, but still, I just wanted to be in the automatic.
Because if you got to sit through traffic every day, this makes life so much easier. So that lane keep, I really love it. It's the Hyundai Genesis Kia one that always works very well. You don't need to be in cruise control for the lane keep to work.
Yeah, it's just an easy button press down here. It's a hard button, love it.
And then we've got radar cruise,
which works really well, and we have that little sensor up front, which is the first difference between the manual and this one.
The one thing this can't do that a Mercedes could do, stop and go traffic with lane keep assist. The lane keep assist doesn't go at stop and go.
Oh, interesting.
At lower speeds. It'll only kick in over 60 kilometers an hour.
So if we look at the manual front end, there's no plastic clear thing in the grille. So this one actually looks much worse than the manual one.
But in certain lighting, you don't notice it.
I still don't like it at all.
I get that. I'm okay with it. Because, you know, lane keep is amazing.
Lane keep is amazing, and I wouldn't not buy this car because of that.
And then back to these front grills, they are the darker chrome because they are the highest trims.
Yeah, these are both the sport models.
So in the lower trims, you get more of a chrome front end. But I do really like the look of that as well. More things that make it very convenient for daily driving. We do have proximity doors, so you just have to click the button. Things unlock for you when you get close.
Yeah.
But it's not to put your hand there and automatically unlock.
Exactly, and from a luxury manufacturer, I expect that.
But what we do have is you can walk up to the back of the trunk on both of these and it'll automatically pop up if you stand there for long enough.
Which is nice. However, we both have a problem closing these trunks. They're not power trunks.
They're not power closed. Yeah, it's just like a spring that pops it open.
So there's a weird handle on the inside and you usually don't use enough pressure to close it, so you always have to get your hands on the outside, like grimy, salty hands and stuff.
It feels like you're gonna chop off your wrist when you pull down.
Yeah.
But we did see a YouTube channel called Asian Petrolhead, I think, and he did do a new Genesis G70 that had a 3D gauge cluster and a power closed trunk, so maybe that's coming in the future.
Maybe. I think that's like 2020 Korean market. Hopefully we get something like that.
But back to that trunk, when I came up to it to put my hockey gear in it, it was great. It automatically opened, but I couldn't drop the seat from the back. I had to go to the side to drop the seat, which did kind of suck.
Yeah, that is kind of annoying.
But also not the end of the world.
No, obviously, but it's still really annoying. Like they could have had a pull tab on the inside or something.
It's minor annoying.
Yeah.
And since we're talking about the trunk, we stopped doing crossovers for a while. We do have a new box test, guys, so we're going to do a special, one-time only sedan box test.
This is why we're never doing another sedan ever again. This does not fit. Ugh. Done. 2 boxes. All right, I've been driving this car long enough. I think it's your turn. However, today's sponsor first.
Vincero Watches.
Vincero is back with another 15% off your entire order coupon code. Go to vincerowatches.com/SPFeb for 15% off your entire order. We are both wearing the Kairos, and I am wearing the automatic. Yuri's got the quartz.
I've got the one that's copper with like a blue band. It's so classy looking.
I really like mine gold. Automatic though, and
I do like that color a lot because I've got the one in not automatic.
And they both have Citizen Miyota movement, which is pretty gangster for a watch company to actually use like real movements.
So check out vincerowatches.com/SPFeb for 15% off your whole order. Coupon code right here.
Now you drive.
Pretty fast, but now that I'm in it, I remember what I like the most about Genesises. Everything in here is simple. Everything in here is normal car, but nice. Were you confused by anything when you got in?
Absolutely not.
Not a single thing. How many other car companies it's like, oh, well, you need to push this button hidden under here to do the trip computer or the heated steering wheel.
Yeah, every time we get into a Mercedes or a BMW, we got to readjust mentally because we know how they're usually laid out, but this is just like, where should this be? You look, it's there.
The BMW 3 Series we drove in Portugal gave me straight up anxiety.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
And the new Mercedes A-Class was a little too much as well. The last generation of both those was better.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
This is like super easy. Everything makes sense. I just like really appreciate that.
Now, what I remember not liking about this is that engine sound. It just doesn't sound good.
Yes, it does not sound that good.
It's got this weird whiny thing going on. Like, I just don't like the sound of it.
And both these models do have pumped-in fake audio, but I think the pumped-in fake audio is good quality pumped-in fake audio.
I disagree.
Compared to the Ford Edge ST?
Okay, fine.
Okay, well, you can turn it off. At least you can turn it off.
This is true.
In the settings.
But that's buried in the settings, which is also annoying.
It's not buried, it's in vehicle settings.
The Veloster N has it in the main settings when you go to your drive modes for your customization. This one doesn't have it in your drive modes. You have to go to vehicle settings separately.
But how do you like the automatic transmission? Does it work well driving every day?
Works perfectly, and it shifts way faster than I remember it shifting. It shifts very quickly.
But it's not like super sporty like the C43 AMG was.
Not even close.
It's just like, you don't know what gear you're in unless you're looking at that one little spot where it shows the gear.
Yeah, so we're actually going to be comparing this to the C43 and the M340i a little bit later. You might be shocked by those comparisons, but we'll get to those prices too. You'll be like, oh, damn, I can't believe they're so close.
Back to everything being simple, how did you connect your phone?
I plugged it in using Android Auto.
And did it work right away?
Worked perfectly. Yeah, I didn't have to put the car in park. I didn't have to put the e-brake up. It just worked.
Apple CarPlay worked perfectly. We've got rewinding satellite radio stations. I know how to use everything. We've got hard buttons for all the things we need to get to. We've got a tuning knob, volume knob, and we've got a star button that'll let us go right to our Apple CarPlay if we need to.
Yeah, so it goes right into my Android Auto maps, which is fantastic. However, I've noticed some lag in the regular menus when you're going between radio stations and stuff.
Oh, I didn't notice any of it.
Here you go, look at it.
Okay, the tuning knob's a little slow. Yeah. It's
That's
not the
what I'm
most
saying.
responsive tuning knob.
It's laggy.
So there's no sliding lag, there's click button loading time.
Yes, lag.
That's not lag.
That's lag.
That's loading. Okay.
That's lag.
Now let's talk about these gauges. How confusing is it to reset your trip odometer or look at anything that's going on there?
Zero confusing.
And it looks really cool. When you go to the different modes, you've got these little like red things, green things, purple things that show up, and it's such a nice pattern.
You know what actually bothers me is I want to be in the custom mode for my custom settings, but then I don't like the purple glow. I really like the red glow from Sport.
And there's no glow on comfort, the main mode when you start the car.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of funny.
But I do think this is the best integration of pretty much any car company of a digital screen, adding some fluff to analog gauges. Do you think that this needs a reskinned infotainment so it's not as similar to Kia and Hyundai?
Yes, I believe I stated that last time.
Would that stop you from buying this car?
Absolutely not.
Because it works so simply.
I just think that they need it, but eventually they'll get it. But for now, it's very functional.
Okay, and then back to this. In this model, we do have the full 360 camera and everything, but in the rear-wheel drive, we only have a reverse camera.
Exactly.
Does that bother you?
Slightly.
It doesn't bother me because if you're buying the manual, you want a driver's car.
Yes.
You're ready to turn your head and look if you're ready to hit 3 pedals.
Pretty much.
When we picked up these cars though, we picked them up in a snowstorm, remember?
Yes, we did.
So how did this one feel in full snow, like crazy ice storm we had in Toronto?
Oh, this was so easy to drive. Like, so easy to drive, no issues.
Did you even turn traction control off unless you wanted to do something fun?
Not until I wanted to do something fun.
Okay, so I was in the rear wheel drive when I got it, and it was a lot trickier. If you weren't in at least traction control off, it had a hard time like getting going. So I had to turn traction control off, and then it was fine, but it would still bog down a bit. When I turned it all the way off, then I could drive more normally. So, you know, when you need to power up a hill or something, I had to turn everything off, but I could do it while driving very easily. I held down the button and it was perfect.
And we'll get into why that was a little bit easier in that car, because it actually does have an LSD, but so does this one, but we'll get into all those little details soon.
By the way, this one is not on Continental winter tires. The recommended Continental winter tire for this one is the Viking Contact 7. So we also wanted to test out how the traction control works. Lucky for us, the Wings and Slicks test track was open for business, so we were able to do some traction control tests. So first we started off with the rear wheel drive, doing a left turn drift with everything on, and it actually got loose a little bit.
Yeah, it was actually pretty good.
Next, we tried it with just the one traction control button, and it got pretty sideways considering.
Yeah, it did. But then we went full out, massive oversteer.
Yes, it's so good with nothing on. Then we tried it in the 3.3 liter twin turbo. So first, everything on, pretty okay. Gets out a little bit. Traction control off, you get a lot more rear end kicking out.
And everything fully off, massive sideways, big drifts. Love it.
And what I found really cool is you can do full donuts with the traction control one button on the rear wheel drive version, and it really held you in that right angle.
Yeah, that was awesome.
But when you tried to turn it all the way off, you could get more angle, but it was a lot easier to spin out.
Yeah, for sure, because we don't have studded tires. And I did a bunch of donuts in the all-wheel drive one, and what I noticed that frustrated me was that it kept upshifting. So I'd have to downshift manually. So then I had to turn traction fully off, and then it wouldn't upshift, which solved my problem. So there's a lot of little subtle differences between the interiors on both of these. Let's start with the visor test.
3, 2, 1.
Passes. Next car.
Rear wheel drive manual visor test.
Let's do it.
3, 2, 1.
Now you know both of them pass.
Okay, small cup of coffee test. Fits with flying colors in the rear wheel drive manual 2 liter turbo, but
Automatic, totally different cup holders.
it's just a little bit of a pass.
But it does pass.
And it's got a, what's that thing?
Knurled. It's got a knurling around, and it
Knurled
looks
cup
really
holder.
cool.
Okay, next difference.
The whole center console.
I need to start with my one tiny rant that I really don't like about this car.
And I will refute that, so go for it.
This armrest gets in the way while I shift, so I need to open this, and then I can shift just fine.
And I have zero issue with that armrest in its regular position.
But we're keeping it up. So the Genesis rep told me that he has no issues either, but he has heard that people had issues. But they did give you a manual transmission, so that's not a deal breaker.
Just suck it up.
Just suck it up, kick that thing off, put a little pad there. But here's my reasoning.
I have no issue, by the way.
This lines up perfectly with this.
Yeah.
Every 911, nothing in the armrest goes higher than the shifting thing.
Ooh, comparing this to a 911.
And then even in the 3.3 liter twin turbo, where the shifter goes, the armrest is at the same height.
Yeah, I agree. There should be something done about it. It's not ideal, but it just doesn't bother me.
But the fact that there is a manual transmission is the best thing ever. What's everyone complain about the Supra?
No manual transmission.
How about all these BMWs, the new 3 Series?
No more manual transmissions. Audis, no more manual transmissions. AMG, they'll just laugh when you say manual transmission.
Kia Stinger even.
No manual transmission.
This one.
Manual transmission with a manual handbrake.
Whoever is responsible for this should be the new president of Genesis International.
He understands everything that Genesis should do as a brand, like building the brand for the future.
Whoever fought for this manual transmission is my favorite person. I just need to say that one more time because
That's fair.
manual transmission.
Exactly.
And even though not too many people are going to buy it,
Manual transmission.
manual transmission.
It exists.
And they put it into a cool spec too. But back to the center console area. So we don't have that dial knob for drive modes. We have everything slightly different. Here's a comparison view.
So the automatic, you have a circular dial for the drive modes. This one you can only press up and down. Then we have a gloss black surround in the manual, whereas we don't at all have any gloss black in the automatic.
But the gloss black is pretty minimal.
Very minimal in both of them, which is awesome.
A few more subtle differences. This is a manual adjustment steering column where the other one has an automatic steering column.
I like this one, it's just way faster.
Then another funny thing is these buttons are slightly in a different order down here.
Yeah, so the favorites button is on the left side. It's kind of switched with the phone button, which is a little weird.
Yeah, but I mean,
There's no issues with it, it's just, you
no
wouldn't.
one's gonna notice that except for us.
Exactly.
And all the other buttons are right where they should be, and they're the perfect kind of buttons. Everything's easy to understand. I really, really like them.
And the 3.3 twin turbo also has wireless charging, which this one does not have.
Then we've got hard buttons on the left, which is also very nice in both, but we don't have lane keep in this one.
No, we don't. This is the driver's car. So both of the ones that we have are the sport models, so they both get quilted seats. So if you see quilted seats in any G70, those are Napa leather. And they're super comfortable, something you probably care about for daily driving.
So I forgot to mention a few more things which make this amazing for daily driving. We've got a head-up display, we've got blind spot monitoring, which also shows up in the head-up display along with our lane keep stuff. Then when we use our window wipers, it'll show up in the gauge so we don't have to check what we're actually hitting. Then when we hit in reverse, the volume gets lower so it's easier to reverse.
You know, the gateway to the west.
And my favorite part, we've got the welcome sound. Oh, hard shift there.
Yeah, because it rev hanged a little bit.
Okay, so you say it rev hangs a bit, but I do like driving the manual version. It's pretty cool. This one has 3 pedals, the other one only has 2.
Good difference, good noticing.
Real journalists here. And you know what? Okay, the clutch is pretty soft, like you said before, so if you're in minimal rush hour traffic, it's okay.
Yeah, it's not that bad. But if you're commuting like 2 hours in straight traffic, oh no.
I wouldn't recommend it.
No.
And heel towing is fine in this.
Heel towing is perfectly fine. The driving position is great, and I would love to talk about the driving position from the driver's seat. I'm gonna put this back down, very comfortable. Okay, so I can rest my arm perfectly. I have no issues with this manual transmission, and it actually shifts really nicely, very precisely. I like it a lot.
You mean you don't have an issue with the manual transmission's armrest?
Both.
Okay, but you said there's rev hang,
Yeah,
so that's a problem with it.
that's not the manual transmission, that's the engine.
Okay, but it's part of like shifting manually.
But I'm talking about the transmission.
Sure.
And one thing I love about this is the actual driving position. It's nice and low. Now let's talk about the engine and the drivetrain and all that suspension fun stuff. I think this 4-cylinder actually sounds better than the V6.
Well, it's got that nice little exhaust on it.
So the Sport 2-liter 4-cylinder turbo is the only one that has the Sport exhaust. You can't get that Sport exhaust on the 3.3.
And on the 2-liter turbo one, the exhaust is over to the right where you get dual exhaust on the 3.3.
And just to show you guys the difference between the sound, here's a little rev battle. Which one do you prefer the looks of? Just the exhaust?
I don't mind the side exhaust. I think dual exhaust looks cooler, but I don't mind the side exhaust at all.
I agree. I don't mind it at all, but I think I prefer the dual ovals.
And the dual ovals have that cool thing built in behind, so even though they're fake tips, you can't see through to the front of the car.
Yeah, and a little subtle difference that we noticed because we had them side by side, the diffusers are slightly different.
Because of the side exhaust thing.
Yeah, it's just cool. Now back to this engine and drivetrain. It pulls pretty hard, but not as hard as BMW's new 2-liter turbo, which has the exact same horsepower as this one.
Yeah, it's weird how things have the same horsepower but feel completely different sometimes.
Exactly.
I think, doesn't BMW kind of get fake horsepower sometimes?
Well, they
Some
underrate.
companies. Yeah, exactly.
Apparently they underrate. This might be exact.
Oh no, you're getting more for your money.
Yeah, exactly. So the one thing that bothers me about this engine and drivetrain in general is that when I'm trying to come out of a corner and like power through it, there's a little bit of turbo lag and you can't quite power through it. So you have to be really high in the RPMs to be able to take a turn really quickly.
But would that make it more fun on track than a 3.3-liter twin turbo auto?
On a track, you probably wouldn't notice that lag because you'd be in a high RPM anyways. It's only on the daily driving where you're trying to have a little bit more fun that you notice it.
But if you're trying to have a little bit more fun, I think the manual totally destroys the automatic.
It does, for sure.
So it's fine.
Yeah, I'm just saying, it's just a little difference
yeah.
that I would like a little bit more horsepower down low.
Cool. Well, just be happy we have a manual transmission.
I am.
Please don't get rid of the manual transmission. Whoever's in charge of any of this stuff.
Yeah.
You may not sell as many units, but just keep it around so you can flex on the Supra.
Exactly. Now let's talk about that suspension. You probably also care about that daily driving. I have noticed a big difference between both of them. So we are currently in the manual Sport. It does not have adaptive suspension, whereas the other one does. And I think that one has the way better suspension. This one just feels really bouncy to me. I don't really like it that much. I don't think it's well damped.
I didn't notice too much of a difference in the suspension.
But you never do.
So if you're looking for this as a daily driver and you're not doing too much tracking, it'll probably be fine.
But you probably would be because this is a 2-liter manual rear-wheel drive LSD Sport.
But it's also just cooler to have in general, even if you're not tracking it. This
Yeah.
is like limited edition.
But
This
I'm
is a
saying if you're
rarity.
tracking it, you'll probably notice.
If you're tracking it, yeah.
So that's why I'm saying you should probably change the suspension on this one. Because I think they got the suspension damping right with the one that has adaptive because the Sport is very nice in that car. This one feels so light to toss around compared to that 3.3. Like this one's just nice and nimble.
Yes, the other one does feel a little bit heavier, but it's faster, so it makes up for it there.
Heel toe into a little bit of body roll because this is the one with the worst suspension, but it's completely fine. It's so fun. I still have traction control on because I don't want to end up in the ditch. However, this one's not actually that scary to drive with traction fully off.
Yeah, I was driving it fully traction off in the snowstorm, and it felt very controllable in all situations.
Yeah, it was great because we have that LSD. So that LSD is what you want in a rear-wheel drive sports car.
So it's like they spec'd out the manual to be perfect.
Exactly, they did.
So we said we'd talk about looks, but we already talked about a lot about the looks in the previous videos.
Yeah, we don't need to dwell on it.
But this one's got red Brembos and the other one has silver Brembos.
Yeah, a little bit of a difference there.
It's like they should switch, but having Brembos is cool.
Yeah. However, I still haven't changed my opinion on these wheels. I still don't like them.
I like them, and I do want to remind everyone, look how cool it looks from behind with the big wide rear quarter panels.
And overall, I still don't think it looks as cool as the Stinger.
We should probably talk about the colors.
Yes, we should.
So this one is a Siberian
Ice.
Ice. I think this is the best color for a G70.
And the other one that we have is Nürburg Green.
That matched my green jacket that I wore to the auto show. I looked so good in that car.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You're complimenting yourself.
Definitely.
Nürburg Green, which is a compliment to the Nürburgring, which I've been on.
But it's super hard to see that it's green.
It looks kind of gray.
Yeah, but they got some cool color options. The red one's good, the blue one's good.
Honestly,
this one's great.
I don't like the Nürburg Green.
No?
No.
Oh, I like it a lot.
I like this one a lot more. So that's it with both of these cars. Let's talk about which one we like more, which one we would buy, and what about the competition as well.
So let's start with which one we like more and which one we would buy.
3, 2, 1. Manual.
One.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's get into why.
So obviously manual transmission.
Yep. It's more rare.
It's rear-wheel drive.
LSD.
Yeah.
It's
It
more
looks
fun.
cool.
Even though it's slower,
Yeah, exactly.
it's more fun to drive.
It is. It's just more fun.
It's just like, think about when you see a CTSV or CTSV wagon out in public. You always want to know, did that guy get the manual?
Yeah, exactly.
People are going to see this, they're going to be like, oh my God, that's a manual.
I'm going to predict that this will hold its value better than the automatic will.
And they may stop making this if not enough people buy it.
Exactly.
Which is like scary because then they won't have them anymore.
Yeah, and you look at like an E60 M5, which would be scary to own, but I would still like to own one. But you look and you're like, which one's the manual? They're so rare.
I was even watching the VinWiki thing with Gallardo's, manual ones.
Gallardos?
What'd I say?
Gallardos.
There's an L in it though, right?
Gallardos.
But I pronounced it wrong.
Yes.
But there is an L.
Yes.
Okay, I'm fine with that. So he was saying they didn't even know how many there were, and they looked it up, and they were so rare. That's why the guy was trying to be low-key about buying one.
Yeah.
This might be that, but like dialed down a whole bunch in the future.
Way down.
Yeah.
Way down.
But it'd still be cool.
It is cool.
It's like getting a manual SSR.
Okay, let's talk about the competition and if we would take this over the rest of the competition.
Let's talk about the price first.
So let's start with the cheaper one, which is a 2-liter rear-wheel drive manual, $45,400.
Canadian.
Super amazing value.
Now the twin turbo all-wheel drive.
$57,500.
Canadian.
Again, really good value.
And before we talk about the competition, we should mention that this car you can buy online and you get delivered to you. So there's no dealerships, you don't have to haggle for it.
Yeah, so they have that Genesis at-home service, so they actually drop off a car when you need service, which is pretty cool.
And you can go to a mall and check it out just like they do with Teslas.
Competition. C43 starts at $59,000, only $2,000 more than the top trim of this.
But you're missing so many cool things if you get that version.
Feature-wise, yes. Performance-wise, absolutely not.
Yeah, but like the features are half the fun, like having the big screens.
No, I like the performance of that for sure. Then we have the M340i, also $59,000, also more performance.
But that one was stressful inside. This one is nice and easy and comfortable.
However, the performance destroys this. And when I say this, I mean the automatic twin turbo, because that is the higher performance one.
So you'd probably get the BMW and the base C43 over the 3.3 liter twin turbo.
I would. But if you're looking for more features, you have to go with the G70 because there's just more value in that.
Yeah, like you get this awesome lane keep, you get like the rewinding satellite radios, all the cool stuff.
And if you're looking at the base trims of the BMW and the Mercedes, in order to spec them feature-wise identical to the G70, that's where the value of the horsepower comes in for the G70. Because the performance of the G70 3.3 is actually very similar to the C43. There's actually a very small performance difference in the numbers. So 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in the G70 3.3 is about 4.8 seconds, whereas the C43 is 4.7 seconds. However, on paper, that doesn't seem like much, but driving it, totally different.
Yeah, the C43 feels way more aggressive, way more fun.
It's more violent, it sounds better, like it just feels like a way better car. The M340i is 4.4 seconds, lightning fast.
Yeah, I think it's like if you want a more sporty car or if you want to have the more hipster choice of a cool car.
I guess so.
So now the M340i and the C43 against the 2-liter turbo manual rear-wheel drive.
I think I still have to go C43, but there's just more value in this.
I would go with this. Like, I love driving manual. They're disappearing. You might as well get one while you can. Save that extra money. buy a used C43 in like 5 years.
But they're not even close to the same price. So you'd have to compare the regular Mercedes C300 or C350, whatever it is now. And then I would take this, no question. This is like 12 grand cheaper.
Is there any Infiniti you'd pick over the G70?
No.
How about a Lexus?
Probably a GSF or an RCF, yep.
How about a Kia Stinger?
Yes, because of the looks.
I'd probably pick a Stinger just because they made the Kia badge cool again. Remember I said no one's gonna do badge swaps after the Stinger? Haven't seen a badge swapped Stinger around. But I've got another comparison that may seem kind of weird.
Okay.
2-liter turbo rear-wheel drive Genesis G70 against a Nismo 370Z.
Similar price.
2 seats, but they're both rear-wheel drive, manual LSD.
I'm gonna go with that Nismo.
I would go with the Nismo, even though this infotainment and everything is better, because I'm more of a childish person. I don't need to like present myself in a G70.
Yeah, this is much more professional.
And on that note, don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave a comment, let us know which G70 you would take and what you would take a G70 over the competition or whatever.
Check out patreon.com/TheStraightPipes, join our YouTube membership, and check out Vincero Watches. Use our coupon code for 15% off your entire order.
And
Cliche
corner shirt.
Definitely go buy some swag at Teespring.
I'm Yuri.
I'm Jacob.
And we're going for a drive. Subscription break. Don't forget to subscribe.
Subscribe right now. Subscribe. We didn't do that.